Chapter 2. Dog again? Soon enough, all the cats were walking around in many different directions in the fight mouse once again, walking very normally, but whispering about the dog, when I blurted out, "Do any of you notice a dog was just here?" "Dog?" one cat asked. "Not this again. Please not this again. Dog, 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 dog," and so ran out with the word dog that sounded like a chorus and spread like a virus. Soon every feline was screaming terror except Maria, and I was reading over the balls and climbing up the balls. Alright, I got it, alright. Before I could repeat the word dog, that obviously worked like magic to beat my own little world record of hall running and wall climbing, Markle was glaring at me in disbelief and disapproval, a fire blazing furiously in his eyes. By the way, the hall running and wall climbing wasn't you didn't do all the work for hall running and wall climbing. That was everybody else that you terrified with that word. Don't take credit for it. Alright. "Let's go," he murmured as he I forgot his voice. "Let's go," he murmured as he glanced back and forth at all the terrorized faces who could not beat the expression of horror on the white Siamese cat's face. Then he looked back at me, his expression not changing a bit. At that moment, an entire phalanx of huge, stalwart employees ran us over. They must have been in a rush, because they would have seen us before they stampeded us, unless they had foggy glasses. Funny, Markle and I fell down before them so they wouldn't run into us, and when they walked over us, it seemed they were walking straight through us like phantoms. Okay, when we looked up, the white Siamese cat was wearing a bewildered expression. She must have been thinking the same thing that we were. Yeah, a holographic army of, cats is walking through the hallway for no particular reason. I would be wondering, too. Okay, or hall, wherever it is, I don't know. There must have been 100 cats all stuffed onto the wall with their claws jabbing straight through the plaster. All the other cats were standing alert in the highest places they could possibly catch up to when they heard the D word. The D word, folks. As they all clambered awkwardly out of their areas of refuge, I noticed that Mark was still astonished at the story-like commotion that happened to him all in one day. Got a little meta right there. I was in trouble. I figured I needed a getaway before he got over the amazement. As I darted down the building toward the door, I called back to the Siamese cat. "Oh, and by the way, what is your name?" When the anxious feline decided I must be speaking to her, she answered, "Lorla." "Lorlala?" I stuttered back. I whipped my head around, and as I raced to the door, I practiced the name. Lorla. Okay, it's just a couple of repetitions of the name with all L's and R's placed in random sequences. Okay, I'm not going to read that. Anyway, back at home, Markle appeared as if he could never speak to me again. Whenever I walked by, he'd look at me with pursed lips and narrow, nasty eyes, as if I was a paparazzi boy that he was never able to get rid of for years. My mom even commented when he shot the face at me, "Cats are so strange with their faces." "Cats are so strange with everything," I moaned through gritted teeth, and I trailed my eyes innocently away from Markle. That night would possibly have been the worst night ever, or worse. It was the evening of Thursday, March 29th. Saturday was coming up, and it was going to be April Fool's Day. My mind didn't seem to be in fun mode, though, excited with my mind ablaze with ideas and silly slip-ups I often manufacture. Usually on April Fool's Day, I trip up people by doing something unexpectedly nice. Wait. No, there's an extra C in there. I knew there was a typo. Just took me a couple seconds to identify it. Alright, unexpectedly nice for them, other than surprising them with dirty jokes. Actually, with his mischievous personality that's already been established, that doesn't seem likely that this character would have that ritual, but whatever. I'm afraid, though, that this time nothing will astound or cheer up Mark. Maybe I should invite some friend over. My mind suddenly flicked on, and I came to myself. I have no idea what that means. At this time, I had been embarrassing and picking on my cat with only more funny business back. I'd been doing absolutely nothing right to support Markle, and received his retorts in turn. In fact, I did exactly what I hated him to do with me, and I had gotten away with it. The old war injury on my left cheek was acting up again. Okay, maybe I hadn't totally gotten away with it. I wouldn't like to admit it, but that injury came from World War III, which took place in my house. What must have been 3 minutes following the war, Mark and I made the front page. 10-year-old and cat battle inside home. A young child by the name of Samuel Henson and his feline foe, Markle, battle to the near end in the official World War III inside their own home place. Why does this sound like an advertisement for like a show? Like the entire United States has been alerted of perilous action between the two. I don't know exactly what has happened, says a close friend of the child, Daniel, but I do know that they began battling with strange pieces of explosives. Explosives! Making small eruptions and red beeping spy gear going off and causing much mayhem. Okay, first of all, how does a 10-year-old have access to explosives? What are this person's parents? And also, how much mayhem can spy gear possibly cause? To make like the front page of this nationwide media story. That's all I could read before my police escort arrived. You mean you were arrested? You were using explosives in your own house. Everything that has to do with you should be arrested. Jeez. They're now putting our little battle in a worldwide news resource. They even put some photographs of me on the news, but I hated them. My nose isn't that exclusively big. I meant exclusively, but it doesn't matter because exclusively doesn't make sense in that context. Anyway, the war between Markle and me didn't go into total destruction. It was ended by Mom. Of course, enough about the war, and back to the now. I had been extravagantly rude to Markle, and I would apologize to him about that. Sure, he impaled me with pure rudeness too, but I needed to turn my other cheek for him. Okay. No, that was the injured cheek. Change that to my right. So, as I thought, I considered inviting Lorla, who seemed friendly. The three of us would probably have a good time, and even Markle might enjoy it. The visit would also calm down Lorla from the experience with the dog. I cringed at the thought. What on earth? What on earth was that dog doing in the fight mouse? Campaigning for a Bill of Rights for allowing canine committees to enter Parliament? What? If so, the president would most likely reject that promotion. I think I was trying to talk about like sophisticated topics and I didn't quite know how to do it, so I just used all this high-level vocabulary in ways that it didn't necessarily make sense the way that I used it, but whatever. The dog was a nut anyway. I needed to put the dog out of my head for now and think about Markle. On Saturday, I was going to invite Lorla. That was my last thought before I blacked out. That Friday wasn't much. Another droning day of school where the teacher drawled on about something like XYZ equals R298 squared equals whatever some nut might take the time to find out what in the world XYZ equals R298 squared is. That's the closest answer I could get. Well, yeah, there's like, 4 different variables in that equation? X, Y, Z, and R? None of which have yet been defined. Like, I'm with you on that, dude. That's as far as you could get with that one. My family usually homeschools, but this year my mother found it an important job that she needed to take because my father was having trouble with money in his job. I miss our old family get-togethers, but at least I had Markle to support me. Here's a note. When Markle supports you, it is very special. This is because he normally enjoys destroying joy in innocent earthling lives. Innocent earthling lives. Okay. There are lots of typos in here. I giggled grimly at this thought, but right now I needed to concentrate on math class. Concentrate's misspelled. Whatever. You know, I never found interest in square roots. Yikes. If you want to find the square of 4, just scribble a square and name it 4. Because that's how math works. I barely think anyway. I could barely think anyway. I was too excited about the weekend when kids could learn without ending up knowing anything. I'm pretty sure that's what happens during the school days, my friend. Anyway, happy weekend, Mr. Blister. Mr. Blister told the class blankly as the bell blared, showing everybody its daily sign that it was very exasperated by hearing all the nonsense that was hereditary in our school. Hereditary, huh? I don't know what that means. Anyway, as I strolled on home, I couldn't wait for the visit. You usually look forward to something different after a long, boring day at school, and visits, I must admit, are very entertaining. Unfortunately, as I traveled on home, Mom was using the phone. That's annoying. That's the only way to contact Lorela. I needed to pull myself together. I couldn't use snail mail because I didn't know her address. I couldn't use email because I didn't know her email address. Even if I did, Pop was using the computer and he wouldn't buy my reason to interrupt him. Neither would I be able to tell her in person, because who knows where she could be in the never-ending string of different dimensions. Universes. First of all, I don't think I have her phone number either, so saying that it was my only way of contacting her is a little weird. But anyway, as for the dimensions, my sister and I had this, in our little imaginary, I guess, world that we devised, there were an infinite number of different dimensions, each with different properties. And I wrote down, like, a list of, like, 90 different dimensions, unique dimensions in my journal at one point. There was, like, you know, pizza world, robot world, and they didn't stay at these, like, rudimentary concepts, you know. A lot of them were a lot more thoroughly fleshed out, I guess. But anyway, just a little background for, you know, these dimensions. That's what that's about. The last resort was obvious. I needed to use the Corinthian yell box. What the hell is that? I guess we'll find out in Chapter 3, Lorela's Laughable Arrival.